Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jon Myer Podcast. Now, we have a special episode happening today. Joining us is Matt Walters, who's a health and physical education teacher and high school football coach who recently had a once-in-a-life opportunity to appear on NBC's hit game show, Password, starring Jimmy Fallon and hosted by Keke Palmer. Please join me in welcoming Matt to the show. Matt, thanks for joining me.
John, thank you so much, man. Looking forward to it.
Okay, I got to give everybody a backstory. We should have probably recorded this in my studio. You're actually local to me. You were my kid's physical education teacher in elementary school. So I'm not really sure if I should call you Matt or Mr. Walters.
Matt is perfectly fine, John.
I just feel it's weird calling you Matt because I've always called you Mr. Walters, and I'm sure you get that all the time.
Yeah, between Mr. Walters and Coach Walters, I'm sure that some of the kids were a little stunned if they watched the episode. They're like, "Wait, his name is Matt." But no, Matt is good. I try to tell everybody just call me Matt, but definitely a unique experience, I think, for the elementary kids to see that for the first time. Me being called something other than Mr. Walters.
Actually, I have to be honest. I had you in my phone as Mr. Walters, L.E. I was like, wait a second. Matt, oh yeah, that's right. That's his first name.
Yeah. It was, and actually, before the show was going to get aired, about 20 minutes before we go on set, the producers had Matthew. That's my, Matthew Walters is my birth name. But I was like, is there any way that it could just be Matt? Like all my friends, it's Matt. And it had to go through all these people had to approve it. And they're like, all right, we finally fixed it. We're good to go. So it was almost a Matthew appearing on Password, but at the last minute, we got it to Matt.
I know the whole process behind the scenes just to change like your lower thirds, your name. I'm like, okay, we got to quickly do this. So it's a lot of work to get it done, but I'm glad they could do it 20 minutes before the show. Now, Matt, how about you tell everybody a little bit more about yourself before we dive into your experience on joining the show?
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a health and physical education teacher at a local elementary school, entering year 10. Crazy to think that, but so 10 years into my career as a health and physical education teacher, and then I'm also the head football coach of my alma mater. I went to East Stroudsburg High School in the Pocono Mountains in Pennsylvania. So I have a very busy day throughout the school year. In the morning, I'm teaching my 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds. From tying shoes to running and skipping and hopping to playing with the parachute. Then I make a 40-minute drive, and then I deal with kids that are bigger and stronger than me and try to keep them organized for a high school football program. So wear a couple different hats, but I love every minute of it, man. I'm very busy when it comes to being in school-related events, but it's a perfect career for me. It's always something that I wanted to do. Very thankful for the opportunities that have come in my life, and I cherish every moment of that.
Now, the only downside to Matt, I have to tell everybody, is he's a Giants fan. So don't worry, don't hold that against him. He's an awesome guy, though.
Yeah, and in teaching about an hour away from Philadelphia, I'm probably one of 3 Giant fans in my whole elementary school, and I would say in the past 4 or 5 years, the Eagles have absolutely dominated the rivalry between the Giants and Eagles. So it's been a rough couple of years, but I kept telling them, just wait. It's always a cycle. I don't know if it's next year or maybe in 10 years, but there's going to be a day. The Giants are going to be better than the Eagles again, and I can't wait for that day to come.
Well, my kids would wake up in the morning and they would wear their Eagles stuff specifically for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, when the Eagles win, my students let me know about it first thing in the morning, and Mondays are not my favorite day of the week.
Definitely did. All right, Matt, I'm going to switch gears. I got to talk about NBC's hit show Password with Jimmy Fallon and Keke Palmer. And when I read the story and my kids were talking about it, I'm like, they didn't even tell me who, right, at the time. And then my wife told me that it was you. And I'm like, I got to reach out. This is freaking cool. And I wanted you to come on the podcast and to actually talk about your experience a little bit more in depth. And one of the things that you talked about is actually how it all got started. How about you walk us through the process? How did you get notified to be able to actually join the show?
So a very long story. Now, you have to remember there was the writer's strike that happened throughout this whole process. So what probably should have been a couple of months turned out to be over a year-long process. It's the middle of the night, I'm sleeping, and my phone is always on, and I get a text message. I look over, it's a number that I've never seen before. Hey, this is so and so. I'm looking for potential contestants in the show Password. I've noticed that you're a football coach, and if you have any interest, I would love to give you a call and talk about it. Initially, I was like, all right, I'm going back to sleep. I'm not dealing with this right now. Probably a spam, with all the spam things that are going on right now with the text messages and the phone calls that we all get and how annoying they are. But I looked into it, it was a Los Angeles number, and I was like, you know what, let me just answer back. Like, sure, I love Jimmy Fallon. I've always been a big fan of his. I know that season 1 just ended and aired, and it was such a fun show to be a part. So it's like, you know what, I'll take the phone call. So they give me a call, and I guess that first phone call is just, can he hold a conversation? Can he tell a story about himself? Is he interesting enough for me to pass him along to the next step, the next step? So that's all that phone conversation was. And the beginning process happened pretty quickly. I mean, once that phone call happened, I was with another producer maybe 3 or 4 days after that, and it really just got the process going. There has been so many Google Meets and Zooms and phone calls with so many people, from the NBC team to Fremantle Productions to Jimmy Fallon's team to NB. Like, there were so many people that I talked to, and I'm not a television guy. I don't know the ins and outs of the business. I have no idea. So this was definitely a shock to me, just to see how it all happens behind the scenes. When I watch game shows, they just picked this guy. Good luck. I hope he wins. Like, it's a process. I think they said at some point they had over 100,000 applications to go through for the show, and you could kind of see it was almost like how many people are we bringing to the next level? How many people are we bringing to the next set of producers? So a very long process, but the people were fantastic. They made you feel good about yourself. They were so open to who you were. They wanted to get down, who is this person that we want to show America to? So it was such a great experience in that aspect.
I think what they look for is one who has obviously a great background, a story, something to share, and something that will connect with the audience, and that they are just a normal human being that made it to the show. And that's what actually makes that really compelling to watch. And I think it was pretty cool because you're local to us. So to see you on there and to watch the show, that was just totally awesome.
Yeah, and there was a couple Pennsylvania people when I first met the potential contestants, when we all landed in Los Angeles, and they brought us into a studio in the Universal backlot. There was probably about 40 people there. What I did know going into it was that not everybody was going to make it to the show. You had to go through what they called Password Bootcamp, and you met with all the producers face to face. You ran through the game. So I met some really awesome people from Philadelphia. I think this season we had 4 or 5 people from Pennsylvania, so was able to connect with them and talk about our great state here. But it was just a wild experience.
Walk me through the process after you talked to all these producers and all these people through all the Google Meets and the Zooms. Did they schedule a time for you to come out to the studio? And at that time, how long were you supposed to be there throughout this entire process, with the potential that you actually might not even make the show?
Yeah, and that was a scary part. They made it very clear that you were always a potential contestant. It was never, hey, you're booked, we're flying you out, get ready to get on camera, you're the guy. But they carefully worded the emails. And then the one day they were like, hey, this is the date that we're going to fly everybody in, that working with Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show in New York City. He's coming to Los Angeles during this week. So we're going to film all of season 2 in 1 week. So that's all I knew. I knew that they were filming all 15 episodes, Monday to Friday, 3 episodes a day. They flew me in on Tuesday. So already knew that I wasn't going to be filming Monday or Tuesday. And I landed on Tuesday. And then I had another email that my boot camp was going to be Wednesday. So they're like, just go to the bottom of the hotel lobby, just wait right there, and then we'll have a van pick you up and take you to the studio. So I go down early in the morning. This is like 7 a.m. I am so tired. I'm on my East Coast time. The flight was long. It was a mess. So, I'm just trying to keep myself up. And then there's about 20 people down there. There's 25 people down there. There's 40 people down here. Now, with me, my head's just, it's starting to go like, hey, there's not enough episodes for this many people. So like I'm not guaranteed anything at this point. So one by one, I think the van fit like 8 or 9 people at a time. They take us through the Universal backlot. And if you've ever been there, it's so neat. I ended up touring it after my boot camp. I went to Universal Studios, and they have a very famous attraction, the Studio Backlot Tour, where all the Universal films were filmed back there, going with Jaws to Psycho. And then here's me with no TV background. And they're like, yeah, you're going to be filming in this studio right here. They filmed scenes from Jurassic Park. They filmed Hitchcock movies there, Back to the Future. And for me to just step in there, you're like, wow, this is really happening. So you get back there for the first time, and there's 40 people. All the producers are there. They make you feel so good. They make you feel so welcomed. And they're like, all right, guys, we're going to put you up in groups. We're going to practice the first round. We're going to practice the bonus round. And you're going to meet with wardrobe. So for about 4 hours, I was in front of production, playing the game in front of the lead producers of the show. Met with wardrobe, and they put me in about 25 different outfits and said, all right, we'll see what NBC likes. Well, if you're on the show, we'll let you know. And then they said, we'll let you know of your future by a phone call. So I go back to my hotel room. I could barely sleep, and I get a call around midnight. Hey, we're going to film your episode Thursday. Be ready to get picked up at 4:00 in the afternoon. So that was the whole setup leading up to it. But getting that phone call like, hey, you got selected. We are filming you in the next episode. Didn't get any sleep that night.
So wait a second. The whole decision revolved around your outfit, and if they would pick how well you look.
It was walking into that wardrobe room, and there's about 15 people, and they're just staring at you like, all right, we have a 5'11" male. Let's try this outfit, this outfit, this outfit. Then they would run off and come back, and they're like, all right, try this on. All right, I love the top, but let's throw a suit jacket on you. Okay, let's get rid of the suit jacket. Let's give you a nice pair of jeans. Like it was unbelievable to see the process of that. And then when I got called for this show, when you go back with wardrobe, there's that one outfit. There's the one outfit that NBC decided to go with. I wanted to be in a suit jacket. I wanted to have a nice, jacket. But NBC did not want me in one. So I had to go with what they wanted me to wear.
Okay, before we actually get to your recording, what was the preparation like for you leading up to actually getting out to the studio? How did you prepare for a show to actually use one word in order for them to guess the password or for you to guess it?
Yeah, it's a lot of studying, and God bless my fiance, Brittany. We would go to dinner, and I would not have conversations with her. We would just play password. We would look at the menu, and I'd be like, Britt, like, come on, let's start practicing these words. We practiced for hours. And as a football coach, when you're preparing for a game, you watch a lot of film on the other team. We watched all of season 1 in its entirety, probably 4 or 5 times. And just watching how Jimmy gives his clues. He's so good at the game. And just to try to see where his mindset was, because there's so many different avenues that you could go in a one-word clue game. So many people are like, why don't you just rhyme the word? And you certainly can, but if they're on the wrong track, it's going to be so difficult to get them back on the right track because you're just trying to connect all the clues to the word. So there's a strategy behind it. But it's just trying to get a connection with your partner. Now, the one thing that I really practiced when I was just practicing with Britt, we have so many things that we can compare it to. Like for something so simple, we're both from Pennsylvania, right? So if Wawa was the password, we can easily talk about that. With Jimmy Fallon, I don't know if he knows Wawa. I don't know the person. We don't have a personal relationship, so I can't use any prior experiences with him. So on my flight over to Los Angeles, I just try to reminding myself, like, you can't go off of your experience. You're going to have to go, how does Jimmy know this word? How does Wiz Khalifa know this word? So it was a ton of practice. My friends I annoyed endlessly with trying to play password. So I apologize to them in advance. But that I treated it like a football game. You know, I wanted to do well. I had a shot to win $25,000. I'm one of the most competitive people that you will meet. I want to win everything that I do, and I will make the smallest things into a competition. So I took it very seriously in terms of preparing myself for the game.
Now, Matt, for anybody that hasn't seen this show, and I apologize, I actually should have disclosed it in the beginning. NBC's hit show Password is all about giving one clue, and the other person, your contestant, has to answer it, right? Your partner has to answer what the password and what it's being. By the way, these should not be anybody's password for their computer or home devices because they're just one word. But and it's pretty cool to watch how they're doing it because, like Matt said, we're both Pennsylvanians, so Wawa's common. We would probably say hoagie at the same time or whatever, or and go from that route. But if you're not from the area, you have to get into the other person's head and you have to understand them. Thankfully, Matt could watch some previous film on Jimmy on where his thought process was in some of his shows that he's gone on. But Jimmy couldn't do the same for Matt, so he had to get into Matt's head for some of the things and how to encourage him to answer with the correct password.
Yeah, and that's what makes Jimmy so good at this game. Whenever you watch Password, and he also does it on his Tonight Show, and that's what got so many people are like, "Did you watch the old Password?" I knew that Betty White was a hit on that show. I'm too young for that, so I had no experience going into that. But I remember when Jimmy would play it on his Tonight Show with his guests. So that's what got me started with Password. Then obviously season one came out with him being on every episode, and that's kind of what got me hooked to the show. It's such a fun game, um, but it could be challenging, and there is strategy involved. When you talk with a lot of people, they might be like, "Oh, you're just giving one word clues," but if
Yep.
they pass the word to you, you don't want to give them a layup, and how easy it could be. You know, an example for that is, let's say the password is Pringles, right? The chip. If you just say chip, probably not going to get it on the first go around, and it's going to go to the other team with chip. All they have to do is say canned, and they're probably going to get it. So you don't want to give easy layups to the other team. So there's a strategy involved with that as well. You know, you don't, if you're going first and you know it's going to be tough to get it in one, you want to make it on the third go around where you're probably going to get it. So you might go somewhere general and say snacks. You know, if they don't get it, then they're going to either have to say chips or canned, and then it could come back to you to end it. So there was a ton of strategy. There were so many scenarios running through my mind throughout the taping. But man, I'll tell you, when that red light is on and you're staring across and Jimmy Fallon is 2 feet away from you, some of that strategy just goes out the window, and you're just fighting for your life to not become a viral sensation on a huge mistake that you make on the show.
Matt, I saw and I watched a lot of the episodes, and you're very correct. Is that the very first time that the word was used and it went to the next person, in most cases, it came back to you. It wasn't answered on the second round or second try from your contestant that was going, but the strategy is very key for it. Matt, talk to me. How many rounds were there for this episode?
Yeah, so for Password, it's you versus another contestant, and then there's Jimmy Fallon and a celebrity player with Jimmy. So my episode was with Wiz Khalifa, another Pennsylvania guy from Pittsburgh, um, and I was paired up with Jimmy Fallon for the first round. And you need to win the first 2 rounds to move on to the bonus round. If it's tied 1-1, it goes to a tiebreaker where it's just one word. Whoever gets it goes on to the bonus round. And I certainly didn't want to do that. That pressure was probably way too much for me when we were practicing it. I was very nervous of my game going into the bonus round. But it's the first to 15 points gets you the round. And our games were very close. I think round one, it was 12-12 going into the final word, and she passed me a word. So it's a very intense game. If you win those two rounds, you move on to the bonus round, and that's 10 words, 10 passwords, $1,000 each. And if you get all 10, you win 25 grand.
Okay, Matt, the first round that you went in, you were paired up with Jimmy, correct?
Yes, and I was very thankful for that because I didn't know how Wiz played the game, and I've been watching Jimmy forever. You know, how many hours have I spent watching Jimmy play this game? So I was very thankful getting Jimmy first.
For the first round, what did it take for you guys to record that entire first round? Like, how long was that process?
Yeah, you know what was really interesting about that? You take a look at shows and you could see the edits. I've become a little bit better in that aspect now that I've seen it. But I guess since there was money involved, they do not break the action once it starts. So once we're on set and they introduce Jimmy, they introduce Wiz, Keke Palmer gives all the rules for the game, you go. And there's no stopping. So I would say what you watched was very close to the amount of time that we spent. Now, the introductions were a little bit longer. When Jimmy said, "Hey, I'm playing with Matt from Pennsylvania. Matt, tell us about yourself." That was about maybe 3 minutes long. It was way longer than I thought it would be because when you watch the taping, I think it's 30 seconds. So that was always the question mark when I was rewatching it. Like, what are they going to pull? I talked a lot about being an elementary teacher. I talked a lot about being a football coach. What are they going to choose? So they go right through it. And then during the commercial break, they will do any edits that they need if they didn't catch somebody saying the word. So, for example, they would go, "All right, Jimmy, a couple minutes ago, you guessed the word picnic. Can you please can you please say the word again?" Quiet on the set, 3, 2, 1, and then Jimmy in a quiet set would go picnic, and then they would cut it. But in terms of the actual gameplay, they just go right through. I wonder if that has to do with you're playing for money, so they need to just let the game play it out. But there were no breaks in between that.
Wow, that's actually interesting. I didn't know that there was no breaks during each of the rounds. My wife and I had a chance to actually go to a recording of American Ninja Warrior out in Vegas. They had it, and it started at like 11 o'clock at night. And by 4 o'clock in the morning, we were still there, and they had only recorded one of the rounds. One of the things I'm like, oh my God, this is a full. It was very amazing to see the production that goes into recording just one of the episodes. So understanding that one round actually took as long as that one round was or close to it is pretty cool. And now you won the first round.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Congratulations on first round because I was rooting for you. And now I was like, okay, with Jimmy, great. Then you go into round two with Wiz.
Yeah. So commercial breaks. Now that one was a little bit longer. Commercial breaks, what, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, when you're watching at home. This was a little bit drawn out. The producers run up on stage, they tell you how great you are, the makeup check, they give you some pointers. The audience control guy was getting the crowd all fired up. So that was a process. So I won the first round, and as I told you, I did not want a tiebreaker. I didn't want it to come down to one word. So getting that first one with Jimmy was really essential for me to feel good, get into that groove, get comfortable on set. And then Wiz comes over, all 6'5" of him. He's an absolute monster. And he sits down. We talk about Pennsylvania for a little bit, how much of a fan I am of Wiz, and then we go right into it. And I was able to, as I was playing with Jimmy, I got to see how Wiz was playing in round one. And I noticed how good he was with words. He's a rapper. He's very good with words. He was really good at this game. And I noticed that he liked to rhyme very early. So I just kind of kept that in my back pocket for a couple of words that came my way, and just trying to make my clues try to match Wiz's gameplay. And I think that came up really good where there were some tough words that were out there. The word to win it was timber. And the other contestant gave a great clue. I thought Jimmy was going to get it. And I'm like, great, here we go, tiebreaker. And Jimmy doesn't get the word. But I thought it was such a good clue. I think she was saying tree and doing that. So Jimmy doesn't get it. It comes back to me, and I'm like, I have a couple ways to go about this. If I get this, I'm going to the bonus round for $25,000. Do I give another timber clue? Do I do falling? I don't know. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stick with my guts. Wiz is a rapper. I'm going to use a rhyming word. So I forget what word I say, but I went with the rhyming word. And Wiz kind of like gives me like a glance, and he's like, we got this. And then he says the word, and we go ballistic and we go nuts. But just seeing how different Jimmy was to Wiz. Both were really good at the game, but they had different ways to go about the words. So you kind of have to adapt on the fly to match those needs in the way that they play the game.
Matt, in one of the rounds, I think it was with Jimmy, you were like, Jimmy, I got this. I got this. Because when I was like, you could hear it. You could hear the excitement coming from you of like, oh, man, he's got this. They're about ready to win this one.
Yeah, so with that, I just wanted to make sure that he knew, like, he didn't have to try to come, because there are some rules now. Like, if you say a hyphenated word,
I
that's
saw that he got caught on that in round 2.
right. So, like, that's an automatic, and it goes to the next person. So I was just letting him know, hey, literally say any word that's legal, and I got it. So that was just kind of me, like, confirming, like, I don't want to ruin this word. Don't try to overthink it. Don't not come up with the word, because you have about 20 seconds. And if you don't come up with the word, you get the buzz and it goes right over to the other team. So I just wanted to make sure, listen, we got these points. Don't blow it for me, please. Just say anything and let's keep going with this game.
So that was legally allowed. You were able to say, we got this. Was there any constraints that you weren't allowed to actually communicate with him and, like, I want to say not hint, but basically not give it away?
Yeah, there's a lot of rules when it comes to password. Like, for example, you can't use your hands, but like you can mention to them, like, hey, I got this. Like, we're good. Let's keep going. Jimmy is known when he knows it beforehand. Like, it goes to them before they even say anything. He starts getting the crowd. He starts with a slow clap and it gets really loud. The crowd's going wild. So I think you're able to, like, kind of, hey, we're good. Let's get to the next word. We got this. So, you can't say any part of the word. So if the password is cowboy, you can't say cow or boy, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. I noticed that the other person you were playing against, when she was going tree, she was on tree.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, okay.
You can use your head for a lot of the words. And for example, I think I used one. I think the password was action. And my clue to Wiz, I went with the head nod this way to show him that it's a word before it. And then I went figure for action figure. So you can use your head in that kind of sense. But she gave a great clue there. So yeah, you can use your head. You could use any expressions. You can act out. One of the best ones that I saw, I think the password was garlic, and someone was pretending to cry as they said vegetable. That's kind of using 2 clues into one. So just trying to get creative with those words makes it a really fun game.
Any way you can get an advantage is pretty good. You mentioned a commercial break. Was this live, or did they actually like pretend it was commercial break so they could do some things before you went to the next round?
Yeah, so it was not live. In fact, we aired this in November. So I had to wait 7 months for this episode to air. And, you sign all these NDAs. I couldn't tell anybody how the episode went. I couldn't tell people if I won, who I played with. I couldn't say anything. And luckily, Britt was very good with it. She, I was kind of worried flying home, like how many people are going to be like, hey, how'd you do? Did you win? Did you win? Did you win? My family and Britt, they were very, you know what? I rather just watch it and have a natural reaction to it. So it was good in that sense. I had a couple friends, a couple coworkers that were just, come on, let me know. Did you win? Did you win? Just please wait. Please. But it was such a long 7 months. But in terms of the commercial break, I guess they just treat it that way for the producers to get back on stage, do your makeup again, just give you some pointers. Like, I think one of the pointers was like my right shoulder to dip it a little bit more for the camera. So I think they used it for that time to kind of just reset everything and be like, all right, we're great so far. Here are the little adjustments, and let's go for the next round.
Okay, talk to me about the ending of round 2, because we know you got to round 3, but I didn't tell anybody what round 3 was. And we're not doing a spoiler alert on how things went, because if you didn't watch it, you need to watch it. But we will tell you at the end of this episode, so you got to hang on. Round 2, I think it was 12-12 or something like that. And then you got maybe the final points.
Yeah, it was super close both rounds, but the end of round 2, it came down to that final word. And I was leading. The thing that kind of flustered me was I was practicing so much on if I wanted to pass or play. If you are trailing in the game, you're the one that makes that decision. I was leading the whole entire time for both rounds. So I never had that option. So the opponents always had that choice. So it was, I think I was up one, but that word would send both of us would win round two. And she gets timber and she said, I'm going to play. So in the back of my mind, I'm just getting ready for that next clue that I could give to Wiz in case it happens. Then she goes with that tree. So in my head, I'm like, here we go. It's going to be a tiebreaker. It's going to be 1-1. Jimmy's so good at this game. But I think everybody goes through it. You know the word, you just can't find it. It's just not, it's here. You just can't get it out. That was the longest 20 seconds of my life when she gave that clue and Jimmy going, oh, I know it, but what's the word? And I'm just sitting there like, just one time, Jimmy, don't be great at this game. Don't be great at it. And I think he guesses falling. And then when it came to me, I went with the rhyming word with Wiz. He got it, and we started to celebrate. He was very excited because he did so well that round too. If you go back and watch, Wiz was an all-star in that round. He got so many words so quickly, great clues. And then we were on our way to the bonus rounds where we could actually win money.
Yep. All right. So you made it to round three. And in the beginning of round three, you had the choice between Jimmy or Wiz. And you ended round two with Wiz. And in round three, which was your bonus round for $25,000, you went with Wiz. Why?
Yeah. So that was just my preparation into watching season one. The other celebrity is listening to the clues that you give with the first celebrity. And I've noticed that the people that picked Jimmy first didn't do as well as Jimmy coming in as the closer. So I knew going in, no matter who it was, no matter if I played with Jimmy first or Wiz first, I was going with Wiz first and Jimmy to close it out. I have seen it so many times where the guest celebrity, in my case, Wiz, they would get only like 2 or 3 in their segment. And you're like, there's no chance. And then here comes Jimmy Fallon and he gets all 7 or 8 for you to win it. So I knew that going into Los Angeles, flying in, no matter the scenario, it was going to be Jimmy's going to close it out for me. And I had a goal in mind with Wiz. Let's get half. Let's get 5 words. Jimmy can pick up 5 words very easily. And that was my thought process going into that.
Matt, talk to me about round three. What are the rules and what is round three like?
Yeah, so round 3, it's the bonus round. It's a chance for you to win $25,000. There are 10 passwords, and they give you the first letter. So, for example, I think mine was the letters F to O. So the celebrities can see the first letter. There's a screen behind me that they don't show on set of the first letters, and they could go around. So it's easy for them to see and navigate it. You get 30 seconds with each celebrity. So when you go with celebrity 1, 30 seconds on the clock, and you try to get as many, whatever words are left, the second celebrity comes in. It's $1,000 for every word that you get. And if you get all 10 words, you win the $25,000.
All right, so Matt, in round three, you went with Wiz, and out of the 10, the very first one with Wiz, you nailed it. Then the next 3, you skipped, right? And then after that, it was like one after another. He was getting them, you were rolling, and then the last one, you ran out of time right before they can answer. What were your thoughts throughout the entire process?
Yeah, so something that they don't show on TV is when you first walk down to start, I was given 30 seconds to look at all 10 words. So it's completely silent in the studio, and I'm just trying to get through all 10 words and saying, how can I get 5 with Wiz Khalifa? And going through the list, they always try to put a tough word. I've noticed in the first season, they try to put it like somewhere in the middle, and that word was incredible. So I noticed that word right away. And then I saw a lot of easy opposite words towards the back half of it. So I'm like, if I can just get past incredible, I'll pass whatever words I need to. But if I could get into that second tier of words, I think it was king and queen, small and large. So if I could get there with Wiz and get through those words, I'm going to be set with Jimmy. So the first word I think was lost. So I went, was found, I think, or I went lost and he said found. And then I got a little botched up because the second word was garage. And I thought that I could get it with 2 words. I thought I could get room and then car. I thought that would get it, and he wasn't able to get that. So that kind of flustered me a little bit. So as soon as I pass it, in my head, it was get to the back half of words now. So I just skipped, I think, 3 in a row to get to those words. And I was able to go through, and Wiz was fantastic with those. And then it got to octopus. I saw that there was only 2 seconds left. I didn't need him to get that word, but I wanted Jimmy to hear that it is an animal. So I just said animal, just so Jimmy, in the back of his mind, when it's his turn to go, he already has that initial clue going into Jimmy.
Wow, that's a great strategy there, so that the other person can hear what those clues are to save you time on that. And now Jimmy comes on it. You've got 30 seconds. You've got, what was it, 4 or 5 more? 4, right?
4. Yep,
4 for the final to win $25,000. Now you already got 6, so 6,000's in the bank, right? Now here the pressure is on for Jimmy to answer 4 of the questions. 30 seconds. How'd it go?
Yeah. So as soon as Wiz is done, and I completely black out. Like, I don't remember any conversations. I think Wiz and Keke were telling me, like, oh, we're so close to the Super Bowl, because that's what I said if I wanted to win. So they were trying to talk to me, and I'm just trying to remember. I got 4 words with Jimmy. I have 4 words. That's about, I don't know, 7 seconds for each word. I could take my time. Octopus, he knows animal. I think he could get it with garage because I already gave room and car. What can I say for the remaining 2 were hop and incredible. So in my head, I'm just trying to think of everything, because when that time goes, I just want to get out of the gate with Jimmy and win this thing. So it was funny watching what conversations were being said in between that, because I have no recollection of it at all. Then Jimmy gave me that look like, hey, we got this. Let's go. And then as soon as that octopus came up, I said tentacles. He already knew that it was animal, so we were able to get that. I went back to, then it goes back to G, which was garage. I just said cars and hope that he knew it. He knew it right away. So I have about 25 seconds left. Like, we bang out those 2 words quickly. I have 25 seconds with the words hop and incredible. With hop, I know that a lot of people might just say bunny or skipping. For whatever reason, in my mind, I didn't want Jimmy to go down a wrong track. So I went with a 2-part clue. I went with restaurant, just to keep a restaurant in his framework. Yes, I know that hop isn't a restaurant, but then when I think he guessed Hardee's. Great guess. And then I went and then he was able to get hop. I was kind of nervous with that one, because if he didn't get it there, I would then have to go with bunny or skipping, and with restaurant, that could have led into a really big disaster. So I was very fortunate that he got that one. Incredible comes up.
Before you get to Incredibles, I got to ask you, because how many times can you say a word, and how often can you say the next word? Like, you said a word, do you have a certain amount of time before you can say another, or can you say bunny? Like, can you go down the line really quick?
Right. So you cannot give a second clue until the celebrity guesses or says clue. So you're kind of just standing there. With Wiz, I think with garage, I think I said car. And there's about a 3-second pause. And I'm just like, Wiz, just say something. Say anything. So yeah, you have to wait for them to guess for you to give that second and third and so on and so forth with the clues.
Okay, so for the last one, incredible. And I was thinking along the same line as you, and some of the things you're going to do. Tell us about the last password.
Yeah, so incredible comes up. I look on my screen on the top right, and I see that I have about 20 seconds. So I have a lot of time to just try to get Jimmy to say that word. And the first thing that popped into my head was the Incredibles. So I went with Mr. And I don't think he guessed. I think he just said clue to give me another one. I could have went with Hulk. Hulk was in the back of my mind, the Incredible Hulk. But I didn't want him to get attached to superheroes. So I just started to think of synonyms with incredible. So I think I said super. And then he asked for a clue again, and then fantastic. I mean, I just the thesaurus was just going through my brain. Like, how many other words can I say that means incredible? And then you could kind of see it, Jimmy, after I give that third clue, after I say fantastic, his eyes just like get so big and he goes, incredible. And then we just, from that moment, I don't really remember what happened. It's the greatest feeling in the world. Jimmy Fallon's jumping all over you. We're hugging. Keke Palmer's cheering. Wiz Khalifa's excited. The crowd's going crazy. There's probably, I think, 200 people in the crowd watching you play. It was just so overwhelming, but so exciting.
Matt, congratulations on the win, $25,000. And I love it that these celebrities are so happy for you to win it, right? They don't care. This is a moment for you and your time to get it. And they are trying to get you to win that. They want to win it with you, and they're part of the team. And I just think it's so surreal to be there, to be able to accomplish this, because everybody sees this on the show and they're like, who are these people? I don't know. Are they really real or are they fake? And they want to save their 25 grand. You know what I mean? But congratulations. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And what you just said with the celebrities, that's probably one of the main questions aside from did you win, was how was Jimmy backstage? How is Jimmy Fallon? And he is exactly how you think he would be. He was so energetic. When I met him backstage, just, Matt, so nice to meet you. This is going to be awesome. You're so ready for this. I can't wait to play. Like, just so great, and I'm so glad that he was like that, because I'm a huge Jimmy Fallon fan, always watch his Tonight Show. So to just see that he's a great person off the camera made it that much better.
Matt, can you tell me how the overall experience was, not only for this show with NBC? I mean, we already know how it was with Jimmy and Wiz and Keke, but how was this experience for you?
It was everything. When I sit back and think about the experience, I think about growing up watching all these game shows. I was a game show family. It was Jeopardy every night, watching my dad get every single question right, him running the board, watching Price is Right in the morning with mom, watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire with Regis Philbin, and always just having that dream of, what, one day I'm going to be on one of these game shows. One day I'm going to be on it. And for it to be Password, and for the experience to be what I thought it would be and more, it was a dream come true. And I was so grateful that it was such a good experience that I had with the producers, with all the teams that just want to take care of you, and they want to portray you to America of who you really are. And they make you feel so comfortable doing that. And I was very thankful for that. And almost leaves me a little bit hungry to do a little bit more with game shows. That's for sure.
Well, Matt, that actually leaves me with my final question for you. Actually, the only question is what's next for you? Maybe the Tonight Show, maybe a little appearance on that would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome. Fun fact, I was in the crowd for Jimmy Fallon's first Tonight Show. I was in college, and that was just something that me and my buddies did. We tried to go to New York. We tried to watch. I've been to probably 5 or 6 Jimmy Fallon shows, and I got very lucky. I was hitting that refresh button for the tickets, so I was in the crowd for his first Tonight Show. But I don't know. I love game shows. I love the competition aspect of the game shows. I'm not there to be on TV. I'm not there to make a name for myself. I'm there to play a game and to win money. And I think that's what separates me from a lot of people with these game shows, is that I'm there. It's almost like a business trip. I'm treating it like I need to win this thing.
That'll be a tax write-off.
That would be a tax write-off. But knowing the steps and knowing how long the process could be, I think if I would go back into it, it would be a game that is a little bit longer, a game that involves a lot of strategy from the social aspect of it. I think I could do fairly well in a game like that.
You want to go on Survivor?
If that's Survivor, if that's, all these new shows that are coming out, The Mole on Netflix. I have a couple in the back of my mind. But I think the longer the game, the better I can be as a player, because I think I can play that social game as well as sticking to my strategy and doing what's best for me to win the game.
Hey, NBC, this is Matt's plug-in for any of your other shows, long running. What's happening on Survivor? What's some other things you're going on? Matt was a great contestant on Password, and some of the longer ones, you might see him in some really good action.
Hey, we will see what happens. We don't know what the future holds, but definitely makes me have that itch to try to get back out there and play a game much longer in time.
I know what that's like. Well, Matt, I got to thank you for joining me and then sharing your experience on NBC's hit show, The Password, and what the process was like, and also what Jimmy and Wiz were like. Thank you so much for joining me, man.
John, thank you so much. Awesome talking Password with you.
Definitely, exactly. Well, everybody, this has been the Jon Myer Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and notify, because guess what? We're out of here.